in there and grab it. Got him. Dude, he run that down hard. Dad, that's a spot. There's a bunch of spots with it. If you want to come off, man, you just come off. I really don't want to put paws on you. You are ill-tempered. Pretty spot. All right, everybody, so welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. Today we're going to be talking about topwater summer fishing. It's one of the best times to fish topwater by far, in my opinion, because you can catch them from daybreak till dark on topwater. So either way, if that interests you, stay tuned because it's something you don't want to miss. All right, guys, like always, if the video helps you at all, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. It helps me out a ton. Also, subscribe down below. I got you covered every week when it comes to bass fishing. And comment if you ever have any questions, anything you want to add, or you just want to talk fishing. I love hearing from you guys. So also, real quick, guys, to talk about this video's sponsor, Salty Captain, okay? Everything will be linked down in the description. You can use my affiliate link. And I also have a discount code where you'll get a discount, and it helps me out a ton. But either way, Salty Captain, they make products, all different kinds of cleaning products, whether it's for your boat, your vehicles, any type of thing. But one of the biggest things I can say about them is most of their stuff is eco-friendly, and then also they have this contraption called the musket, okay? And it's basically like a foam cannon, but you know, it just makes cleanup super quick and easy. I've been on the river here a lot lately, so that scum line gets on my boat. I don't feel like spending, you know, an hour cleaning up everything. And I can typically get my boat and my truck washed in about 12 minutes max, you know, by myself solo. So, you know, if that interests you, check it out. Use my code. It helps me out a ton. I really appreciate it. So the first thing we're going to talk about when it comes to top water is your setup. This is going to be the most important thing. So I'm typically going to go with a high gear ratio reel, okay? So I like, you know, 7:1 to 1, 7:3 to 1, something like that. I want something that is quick, okay? That way when those fish come up, a lot of times they're going to hit it so hard this time of year when you're working that bait that it'll knock slack in your line, and being able to catch up to them is going to mean a world of difference between making sure you get a good hook set on the fish and you're able to get that fish in the boat. Secondly, is going to be your line, okay? Some people like to run braid on all their topwater stuff. I typically only like to run braid if I'm throwing like a frog up in pads or something like that, but I typically like to run monofilament. Why? Because monofilament floats and it has stretch. I'm trying to give that fish as much slack as I can, or not necessarily slack, but as much play as I can, because it typically ends up with them not being able to throw the bait. The bait just sticks to them really, really well, especially if you got good hooks on your bait. Now, the next thing is your rod. I like a 6'8" medium. This is one of my favorite rods in the world. This is the Impulse Energy Series. El Roland designed this rod for top water. Short handle. That's going to be one of the other keys, especially with your walking baits, is having that short handle, because when I'm popping this bait, that handle will actually go over my forearm, in between my bicep and my forearm. Now, there's a multitude of different baits, right? This is where it can kind of get confusing, because, you know, you got your walking baits, you got your poppers, you got your whopper ploppers, you got your buzz baits, you got all these different kinds of top waters to choose from, and at times it can get very confusing. So one of the easiest ways to remember this when you're choosing your top water bait, when the water is still calm, I typically want something subtle. So, you know, something like that walking bait, okay? There's two different walking baits that I really, really like. I like either a hard knock or one with a lot of rattles in it, okay? I rarely ever use the silent one, because a lot of times I'm fishing these deeper lakes and I can call these fish up from, you know, a good distance, like your highland reservoirs like Lewis Smith Lake and stuff like that, your herring lakes. A lot of times those fish will sit, you know, 20-25 foot deep, and they will come all the way to the surface just to hit your top water. So, you know, having a bait where they can hear it, and, well, not only see it, but where they can hear it. Typically you want to move these baits so fast that they're not really getting a good look at it. It's kind of like hot potato, or, you know, one of the best analogies I heard was from Jason Christie, talking about, you know, bass are kind of like cats, okay? You know, if you kind of like drag a string across the floor, they just kind of follow it and creep up on it, but as soon as you stop it and then move it again real fast, is typically when they try to pounce on it. Bass are very, very similar to that. Now, if I'm fishing around, you know, something that I need to call these fish out of grass or something like that, you know, that hard knock is always a good choice. Also your popper style baits and stuff like that. If I need to call these fish up from, or call these fish out from a good distance, something that's gonna, just scream, I'm over here, I'm over here, a popper is a great way to do that. Another bait, as far as like subtle presentations to where, if I've got those still calm conditions, I mean super still, and you see those fish every now and again, they're kind of spread out, popping the surface of the water. Old school head and torpedo baits, these prop baits, are very, very good at mimicking small bait fish. I keep my colors very, very simple. I like chrome when I want to, I really want to mimic like a lot of shad, or, one big shad. And then on my clear water lakes, maybe we get a lot of fishing pressure and stuff, I want to go with something translucent, something like, a clear water minnow or something like that. And then any type of low light conditions, I really, really like, white. White just puts a lot of contrast in the water. It mimics the shad very, very well. The translucent baits, they can kind of mimic brim and stuff like that also, but just keep your color selections very, very simple. When you're choosing a color, think brim, shad. Really, those are the only two right now. It's just brim and shad. I mean, you don't really have a whole lot of other choices for top water, but brim, shad, and translucent. So the translucent baits, those are typically going to be on my very high pressured fisheries, or fisheries that have a lot of threadfin in it and not really anything else like gizzard shad or anything like that. Now the biggest thing is the areas, right? So it kind of all depends on where you're fishing. If I'm fishing areas like where I'm at right now, where I have tons of lily pads and a lot of thick grass, stuff that I can't that high up vegetation that I can't really throw up in because it's so tall, I can't really get anything through it. And when I get bit, I can't really get that fish out. A lot of times I like to call those fish out away from that area. So, if they're hanging around the edge of your pads or the edge of your grass line and stuff, maybe throwing up into them isn't the best option. Throwing parallel to that type of structure, whether it's grass or pads, and then bringing that bait parallel to those, a lot of times we'll call those fish out away. That's one of the ways that I caught them first thing this morning. Got him in. Oh, he come off. No, he didn't. Nah, he ain't that big. Ain't one of them. Sling him in there. Another 1 pounder. Got him. They're fighting over it right now. Yeah. All about the same size. Come here, buddy. I promise I'll turn you back loose. Y'all see how I'm doing my rod tip, Daddy? I'm leaving slack in it. Oh, he got it. He swirled on it. Christ, he's big enough to, he's barely big enough to eat it. Look at him. But one of the biggest things is, remember, this time of year, summer, and those 85+ degree water temps, speed kills. The faster you can move that bait, typically the better. So speed those baits up. Like always, I'll have clips within this video that you can kind of pay attention to how I'm running my baits and how I'm catching these fish off this stuff. But speed kills. The faster you move these baits, a lot of times, typically the more aggressive the strike is and the more they commit to it. So either way, guys, I really appreciate you stopping by. If the video helps you at all, make sure to hit that thumbs up button. It helps me out a ton. Subscribe down below. I got you covered when it comes to anything bass fishing, and comment if you ever have any questions, anything you want to add, or you just want to talk fishing. I'll see you next time.